Hello everyone, in this video I'll be covering all of the patch updates with the hero buffs and nerfs in the Marvel Rivals mid-season updates, which is going to be live on February 21st. There's actually a lot of interesting changes coming here, and the first one I'll be starting off with is Thor. Now, his change doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but his awakening rune, so whenever you press F here and drop down this ability, it's going to cause it to no longer have a cooldown. So typically when you go into his awakening rune form, you do your attacks here, and then you have a 2-second cooldown on it, which is now going to be removed. So I don't think there's going to be a massive change that'll make Thor crazy good or anything, but it's something, and I think we'll maybe see some more changes to Thor's kit over time. Now going on to Venom. Venom actually got some very interesting changes. So with his ability to do that crash landing, the frenzied arrival, it now has a change so that whenever you do your landing, so it's supposed to pull targets in, it currently does not, and it's going to be updated so that it does that. So whenever you look at his ability here, the frenzied arrival launches them up towards the landing point. It currently doesn't really do that, and it's now going to change them and not give a knockback of like a 75 degrees so that whenever you do this attack, it'll launch them in towards you, which is going to be nice to be able to set up this attack as well. So some pretty useful changes to Venom, I think. And also his ultimate charge is no longer to be 2800, so it's now going to be 2500 to charge. So you have to do 2500 damage or block that damage to be able to get up your ultimate. So what that means for Venom is he's going to be doing his ultimate a lot quicker, because roughly around 300, 250 health per, that's going to be one less person you have to take out to get your ultimate. So that could be really nice. I think that's going to be a big change for Venom, and I feel like he will get more changes as time goes on, because it still feels like he's a bit weaker compared to some of the other Vanguards out there. But another one that is fairly weak is Captain America. I feel like this was long overdue. We did get a cap buff last season, but so Captain America previously got buffs to a lot of the cooldowns, but now there's gonna be a change, because whenever you jump up, you actually can't shield whenever you're running around. This will no longer be the case. Captain America will now be able to shield when he's up in air. Normally you can shield on the ground, and then as you jump, you lose your shield. So this is a nice change, because this will give Captain America the ability to block some ultimates by jumping up in the face of them. You can jump with that dash attack there, but that's not really reliable, and you do have to wait for it to cool down. So now being able to shield and jump is quite a buff for Captain America. In addition, his Vibranium Energy Saw, which is this attack here where you throw your shield, is getting a buff. It's going to increase in speed from 60 meters per second to 80 meters per second. In addition, once it hits off a target, it'll go for 100 meters to a second to 150, so it'll going to bounce around a lot faster that way. So better speed just means you're more likely to hit targets, which I think is a nice change for Captain America. I do think his damage is rather weak, but he has a disruptor. He's meant to get in there and cause chaos and get back out. But I think, honestly, adding in the shield while moving around and jumping is going to be a big change for Captain America, and I'm happy to see that here. I am Groot. So Groot is actually getting a really nice change. Normally, he's able to set walls upwards of 15 meters away, which is nice. So you see here, you got that 15 meters range. It's going to increase to 18 meters, which means you're going to have an easier time with trying to box people in, because whenever you do this attack, the walls will attack with you. So this just means it's going to make Groot a much more offensive threat, and he's going to be better at walling off any tanks. Typically, when you're using Groot, you're going to want to try and wall off anyone from their healers or wall off healers from their team, because that way you're able to deal damage, take them out, and they can't receive healing. So this range increase will actually make Groot a whole lot better, and I think this is going to be a really solid change, so I'm looking forward to seeing that. So Magneto is getting some offensive buffs. His main attack does 35 damage, and it's going to be buffed up to 40 damage, which I think is a nice change. It'll give him a bit more combat viability. But he's getting nerfed on his Iron Curtain, or his the Metallic Curtain here, which is his shield attack. So you can pop it up. So I popped it up there. Usually after like a couple seconds, you'll be able to pop it up again for a reduced amount of time as you charge up energy. And this energy cost is going to go from 50 energy upwards to 65. So you're going to have to wait a little bit longer to recharge it. And the duration is changed from 2 seconds to 1. So you'll be able to use it a little bit more frequently, but for less effectiveness, because you'll have to charge up more energy. So it is kind of a big nerf for his Iron Shield, but his overall damage will increase, which I think is a pretty nice change. So some different changes here for Magneto, who's kind of like the meta alongside Doctor Strange, who is also unfortunately on the receiving side of getting some nerfs. So for Doctor Strange, his nice 650 health here is no longer going to be 650. He's going to get his health reduced down to 600. So that does suck, because I love playing Doctor Strange. He's my favorite Vanguard. He does have this really big shield, which is really most of his kit is doing these attacks and weaving them in and doing your attacks, weaving in melee attacks. So you normally want to do something like that. But we're also going to be seeing a big change to that, because he's going to lose 50 health Not a huge nerf, but it's enough of a nerf for the meta Doctor Strange to probably not be played less, but a little bit less effective. And luckily for me, Penny's not getting any nerfs, so Doctor Strange, Penny, my two favorites to play, and Doctor Strange getting that nerf does kind of suck, but next we're moving on to Iron Fist, who actually gets a lot of changes. So the Harmony Recovery, this is his ability where he heals up. This is actually going to change, and the health provided is going to increase from 50 to 150 with health decay at 25 per second. So he normally goes up to 300 health. It'll now be getting him up to 400 health there, and it'll decay 25 per second. So a little bit of a change there. Dragon's Defense, so his the Dragon Defense health points that'll be covered from the block will increase from 150 to 250. It's a little bit of a change there. Base health is increasing from 250 to 300. And his attacks dealing reduced damage from 32 down to 30, and the third and fourth damage reduced from 16 down to 15. So a little bit decrease to his attacks, and the 6 damage is reduced from 55 to 50. So a little bit of a change to his overall damage, and the cooldown time from each hit, because his attacks will reduce the cooldown of his dragon. Dragon's Defense will now be reduced, so each stun punch, whenever he does his punches, it's going to reduce it. He used to give 19 recovery, but it's now down to 10. I should re-say that. It reduces his damage from 19 to 10. So a little bit of a damage reduction, but his survivability is going to increase, which I think will make Iron Fist a bit more annoying to deal with, but we'll see how this all turns out, as he's not very highly picked. So yeah. Now, Mr. Fantastic's getting some changes, so his flexible elongation here is going to have a larger spell field, so it's going to double in size, meaning you can hit multiple people with it, but it also is going to have its charge time. It's normally 8 seconds per charge. It's getting reduced down to 10, or increased to 10, so he's going to take longer to recover his ability there with. And also the Brainiac Bounce, which is one of the worst ultimates in the game, is now getting a buff. So whenever you use his ultimate, the damage is increased from 50, so whenever you go into your ult, it would normally do 50 damage there. That's now increased to 70, and the energy cost is increased as well to account for that. So the DK starts at 3 meters to max of 50 meters, 60 damage at 10 meters. So a bit of a damage fall off too, but overall higher damage at the start, which I think is a very fair change. So Iron Man does get a bit of a change. So whenever you use this attack here for the beam, it does 120 damage per second. It's now going to be doing 140 damage per second, so a bit of a buff there. And whenever you use your armor overdrive, it's going to buff the damage from 180 per second to 190 per second. So a nice change there. I have seen various reports saying that his team up with Hulk is going to get a bit of a change, so we'll have to wait and see if that does end up happening. I'm not entirely sure if that's legit or not, but I hope so, because I think the team up with Hulk is very overpowered. So we'll have to wait and see what actually comes, as these patch updates are not 100% guaranteed as of yet. But we're actually seeing some changes to Hawkeye's kit as well. So with Hawkeye, his health is increasing from 250 to 275. So a bit of a buff there as well. The explosive arrow damage is going to be changing. So it's going to decrease from 20 to 50. And the spell field damage is going to increase. So I guess it'll be kind of similar damage overall. Just, I guess, different. The explosion is going to be a little bit less, and the spell area will be a little bit more. The Crescent Slash here is going to get a cooldown change. It's normally 15 seconds, going to change to 12 seconds, so that's pretty nice to see. And in addition, his ultimate charge speed is accelerated, so whenever you use your ultimate, you're going to be able to shoot a lot faster that way. So nice change there as well, because I think that's his ultimate is just fair compared to what else he does. But I feel like Hawkeye is very strong and good hands of a good player. Unfortunately, I have seen a few cheaters that are using him with automatic headshots, and I got 5 of them in a row in the other game. It was actually kind of crazy. So hopefully something about cheating gets a little bit shot down here. But Storm's getting some changes too, and Storm just recently got a lot of buffs. Now Storm, I think, is one of the best in the game. So her Wind Blade damage at 30 meters is reduced from 70% damage to 60. So when you're at range, she's going to have a bit of a damage fall off increase. And the aura self boost changes. So it was normally going to be 16%. And it's now going to just be 12% of the buff. And the team boost is getting increased. So normally you give 16% to yourself, either damage or movement speed increases. So you're now going to do 12, and your team is going from 8% increase to a 10%. So buffing your team better, not buffing yourself as much. I think that's pretty fair. And the Goddess boost, Thunder to self-damage boost, is increased from 30% to 25. So whenever you buff up your damage, it's no longer going to be as high. So we'll, I guess, see how this affects Storm, as she's been pretty strong lately, and I think it's well-deserved. But we'll just have to wait and see if this change is how this will play out. Now, Star-Lord, his ultimate cost is very cheap. And his ultimate is now going to be much more expensive. It's a 50% increase to his overall charge time, so you're going to hear legendary a lot less. Now, Star-Lord's a little bit difficult because his ultimate is by far his best thing of his kit. He is a little bit challenging to use otherwise. Like, you kind of have to get in there, you kind of have to get out, and make sure you manage your reloads well. But yeah, his ultimate getting a big nerf, I think, is something that we should have seen earlier, but it's nice to see it now. Scarlet Witch's ultimate is also changing. So with Scarlet Witch, her ultimate now gets temporary health boost on cast, but quickly decays if interrupted or ended. So she gets an additional 100 health whenever she uses her ultimate, and it decays at 50 per second after interrupted or ended. So yeah, that's going to make her ultimate a little bit scarier again, because her ultimate, people say it's the worst in the game just because of how unreliable it is to be able to hit it, especially when you're playing against good players. So that change will, I think, be pretty welcomed within the Scarlet Witch enjoyer community. Spider-Man also gets a bit of a buff, so his web shooters receive a buff, reducing the charge speed. So the web shooters is a really big part of his kit. Whenever your webs are out as Spider-Man, you're pretty useless, so you do want to make sure that you do have them up as much as you possibly can. And once you run out of webs, your kind of best option here is to get out of it. So yeah, I think that this will be a nice change for Spider-Man. That'll just give him a little bit of a bit more combat intensity, because typically whenever I'm fighting and if a Spider-Man runs out of his webs, I find it's usually better at that point just to run away, let them recharge, and get back into the fight. So I think that's going to be nice. It's going to recharge the charging time from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds. Now, Moon Knight, finally, we're getting a nerf. He did get a buff last season. So whenever we use his ultimate, you would normally hear the moo and die. Like, that's the experience playing against Moon Knight. So now, his ultimate, whenever you pop this down, there's going to be a bit more timing before these fists come down. Because you can see, they come down, they're dealing double damage. And it's actually kind of crazy how this works. So the fist speed is going to be reduced, and correcting the damage logic. So remove 75 damage for being in the middle of the spell field. So in that circle, you take 75 damage. Each of the fists will do, the fists will change the damage. So being in there, you're taking kind of like double damage, but the fists will now do 150 damage, and they will go a little bit slower now. So that's a nice change. Going to have bigger damage, but you're going to take less damage overall, I would say, just with the reduced timing of it, and also the fact that you're not going to have to worry about standing within the spell field. It also sounds like it's going to have a reduction, so you're going to hear the moon haunts you, see the circle, and then you'll have a chance to move. So that's a nice change. Now Black Widow is getting a bit of a change as well. I feel like she's the worst hero in the game by far. She got her sniper, she got her batons. I wish the batons were better, but with Black Widow, her ultimate will give a better speed. The speed reduction from her ultimate was 80%. It's now going to be reduced to 50%, but the rifle is going up from 8 bullets to 15. So she'll have to reload her gun less often, which I think is a pretty nice change. I do think she needs a change to how her kit works. She would be good if you could use her like getting in close to fighting people and had a combo here, so you didn't just have to use the rifle. I know that they're trying to make it so that she's not like a Widowmaker, because Widowmaker is a very difficult hero in Overwatch because of how OP a sniper can be, as we see also with Hawkeye. But I feel like if she had something close range to it, it'd actually make Black Widow somewhat useful, outside of just, she's not useful. But Magic's also getting a change. There's some big changes actually to Magic. So with Magic's kit, her ultimate is cost reduced from 3,700 to 3,400. So Dark Child will come out to play more frequently. So I think that's really nice to see. But her Eldritch Whirl damage is going to be decreasing. So whenever she does Eldritch Whirl here, it does 45 damage. It's going to be reduced to 40. And the Demon Rage, so whenever you pop these little puppies out, their damage per second is going from 80 to 72 per second. So a bit of a reduction to her damage overall there. But you're still able to do her attacks here and do her combos. So I don't think she'll be hurt too bad. Just a different ability for her, I guess, with her attacks here being a little bit less useful. Now, Hela's getting a bit of a nerf too. So Hela with her kit, the Soul Drainer damage fall off is going to be reduced. So with the soul drain, you shoot out your little orb there. It's going to pull people in, do a little bit of damage. It's getting reduced at 30 meters, or you're going to have the damage reduced from 70 to 80%. So a little bit further damage fall off from how far you are from it. But yeah, that's it for Duelist. Now getting into the healers, Adam Warlock's getting a bit of a change, and it was much needed. I don't think it's the change that he needs, but it's a change nonetheless. So Soul Bond normally would charge you and do 10 health per second. This is now being increased to 15 per second, so that is quite nice. His primary damage is going from 55, so if you were to hit a headshot, you can see there it does a lot, but it's going from 55 damage to now 60 damage, with 60% damage fall off at 40 meters. So this is up from the 50% damage fall off, so it makes his damage a little bit higher, but a little bit less reliable at long range. So yeah, I think Adam Warlock does need a lot more changes to be super viable in the meta. But we'll see. There's two kind of ways you play him. You can alternate between these attacks here. So if you do your right click and left click, it animation cancels it really fast. And you can also charge and hold his attacks. My favorite strategist to play, Cloak and Dagger, is unfortunately getting a pretty big nerf. So the ultimate charge cost goes from 3,400 to 4,000. So a pretty big update to the amount of damage and healing required to be able to charge the ult. Now, the lane, so this is what's getting a big change. So normally you could do this and stack it up and get double healing. So now this is getting a change. So this no longer give you double healing if you double it up. Unfortunately, the dash is, so when you dash with it, it's getting a time reduction from 1 second between. So you dash, wait 1 second, dash, wait 1 second. It's now going to be 0.67 seconds, so it'll be faster. And the healing effect again does not stack. And Cloak actually gets a bit of a buff, so the vulnerability on enemies increases from 20% to 28%. So you're going to be dealing 28% more damage on targets whenever they're hit with that. So I think that'll make it viable, because whenever you swap from Dagger to Cloak, it's actually super viable, but not a lot of people do it. Hopefully this will help change that. Now Luna Snow, bit of a nerf here. Obviously a lot of healers are getting nerfs. So Luna Snow is going from her ultimate cost being 3,000. Or her ultimate cost going from 4,000 to now 4,500. I still don't think this is going to be enough for healers to be not ulting all the time, because that's one of the biggest frustrations in a game, is when it's just delayed nonstop from healers. But hopefully we'll see a bit of a change as time goes on, but that increases something. Now Loki also gets a different change as well. Since you usually want to have Loki copy Luna's ultimate, the ultimate charge is now going from 3,400 to now 4,000 damage. But his main attack's damage, or his main attack, is going from 10 rounds to 12. So he's going to be able to heal more frequently. So that's really good, because he's now going to be able to shoot 12 times before he has to reload. So I think that's a pretty nice change overall. Mantis, bonus health points has been reduced. So whenever she's in her ultimate, the bonus health is going to go from 100 to only 75. So a bit of a change to the overall damage damage reduction she'll get because of the temporary health. And Invisible Woman is also getting a bit of a nerf, with her ultimate going from 4,000 to charge to now 4,300. So it's going to be a little bit less that will get her ultimate popping up as much. And yeah, I guess for the team up updates, Iron Man's team up with Hulk is going to be decreased. Hulk's health that he gets is going to be decreased as well. So his anchor's going from 150 extra health to only 100 extra health. The Sonic Disc rewind teleport time. So that's whenever you're using the team up with Psylocke, Magic, and Black Panther. The teleport time is reduced from 5 seconds to 3 seconds, and the bonus health conversion is from 0.5 to 0.8. So more health you'll recover, but you got less time to be able to pull that off. Now, Full Moon, new 25% healing. So whenever you play with Moon Knight, if you go into his ability, it's going to heal him for 25% per second, which is a little bit of healing, which is nice. The Symbiote Bond, so skill time is reduced from 4 seconds to 1 second, and 50% damage reduction is removed from that ability, and complete invisibility added in. So interesting change. We'll see how that all plays out. As well, the Frozen Chi, if you're playing as Iron Fist with Luna, the healing increase from 50 to 75, and enemy slow effects is increased from 20% to 30. So that is nice. So we'll see how all these changes do impact the meta of Marvel Rivals. I'm curious to see, and let me know what you think about these changes in the comments below. And also hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already. I'll see y'all in the next video.